Hey, this is the Well Advice Channel too. What I want to talk about today is a topic of the truth about anti-black racism. So for this video, I'm gonna be talking about the honest truth about it because the truth about anti-black racism, which of course for this video we're talking about why racist white people hate black people so much. What I want to talk about is the actual myth about it, or in other words, the big lie about it that a lot of people, specifically racists, put out there. And I'll talk to you about the true reason why um, racist people, specifically racist white people, hate black people. So now that I've mentioned that, let's get started. So when it comes to the big myth, let alone the big lie, whatever you like to say, about why so many people hate black people, it's down to this myth that it's down to the fact that there's so much crime in the black community, okay? And this one is a very big myth that I tend to notice tends to be spewed a lot, specifically among a huge contributing people, a huge contributing demographic that spews this argument is a black conservative um movement, but the truth of the matter is when we look at the history books, we can definitely prove that idea is a complete myth. And let me explain why. The reason why it's a complete myth is that when you look at the history books, okay, let alone study history, even at a very basic level, okay, there were actually many times in the past black people did actually have successful places, okay? Um, in other words, communities that actually were functioning well, okay? Like there wasn't a lot of crime there. They were minding their own business. They were even obeying the rules of segregation in honesty, to be quite blunt and honest with you. They were doing everything they're supposed to do. They had jobs and this and that. They weren't causing any problems to anybody, specifically to white people, of course, and they were actually doing quite well. And you know what happened? The whites destroyed the community, with there being many examples of that happening. But the most famous one, of course, is Black Wall Street, which was in Oklahoma, specifically what's modern day Tulsa, Oklahoma, they destroyed. And they were doing quite well there. And this is historical facts. This is not a myth. And they just came in, some person claimed, and it's always a white female, specifically a young white female. Let's keep it real. Whether we want to be politically correct or not, it's always a young white female who always has to fuck everything up, specifically for, black people, especially back then, and she claimed that apparently some black person assaulted her, whether physically or sexually or something. Which even when you look at the the lack of knowledge people had at a time when it came to forensics and stuff, it was kind of as clear as day she was lying. And the truth is, a huge mob of white people went into the town and they destroyed it. They killed a lot of people. They burned the whole city down and just destroyed pretty much every trace of it, for something that they had absolutely, the blacks had absolutely nothing to do with. Okay, for that matter, okay? And it's not just that, there's actually historical evidence to prove that there's dozens, if not hundreds, of successful black towns and settlements that were completely destroyed um for no real reason. Aside from the fact that they're black, and they just came up with bullshit excuses for it in order to, of course, no surprise, you know, take over um the land, for their own gain, and specifically destroy the possibility of black people actually doing well on their own. And this is what I'm trying to say. So when it comes to this whole argument, okay, that black people, we get all this hate because we act ghetto and we create communities that are full of crime and this and that and blah 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 blah. The stuff you hear all the fucking time. The truth of the matter is, this evidence itself disproves it, because it just proves that even if we do what we're supposed to be doing, look at Barack Obama. He did everything he was supposed to be fucking doing. He's intelligent, he's educated, he's law abiding, everything, and they still hated him. and he didn't act ghetto at all. He acted very presidential, way more so than even Donald Trump, and people are still hating on him and calling him the N word, the one ending, of course, in the R, nigger. They call him all those types of names and all that type of stuff all the time. Yet he did everything he was supposed to be doing. So I'm kind of wondering what exactly these people are talking about, to be quite blunt and honest with you, okay? To put it bluntly, I don't believe it. I don't believe the if even if we got our, as they would say, our act together, in these bad neighborhoods, they would change their perception, okay? Maybe to be, you know, some whites would, but we're talking about so the whites specifically, of course. Let's keep it real, whether we want to admit it or not. The most hardcore racist whites, who of course live in the South. Okay, they don't care what you can accomplish. What if we do everything we're supposed to do? They hate us no matter what. So no matter what we do, no matter how educated this and that, they will still hate us. Okay, so this myth, that, oh well, if we do the right thing, they're not going to hate us and we won't have to deal with the discrimination stuff, is complete bullshit, because when we did do the right thing in the past, they just completely destroyed it, and that's the honest truth though. So to be quite honest with you, there's nothing we can do. Even when we look at our own history, for crying out loud, like African history, and not even the stupid ones who go around claiming, oh, the Olmecs were actually black, oh, the first Chinese were actually black, or blah 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 blah. Those stupid people, you know, you know, um, like stuff, those stupid people who have um, their own space in the black community, to be quite honest with you. Once you even get past those nutcases, the truth of the matter is, even when we're talking about like civilizations that were clearly black, like Nubia, the land of Punt. Let's not forget, of course, about like obviously you can bring up obviously the Zimbabweans, the Great Zimbabwe, in other words. Um the Zulus, like actual authentic African history, they're still hating on us. They're still bothering us in the comment section. You want to know why? Because they don't want us to know our history, and they don't want us to know, more specifically, that we're not fucking stupid. They want us to believe that we are this image, that they've created for us. They don't want us in the African diaspora to know our own history. That's when we talk about our history, and talk about the great accomplishments, like Mansa Musa being the richest person who ever existed, if not one of the richest person ever existed, and a lot of other things we did, they always want to talk down on it, and as I mentioned before, when we are actually doing the right thing, they still are doing their best to fuck us over. We created communities that actually worked and destroyed it. So, in short, to answer your question, there's nothing you can do to make racist people not stop hating us, okay? They hate us no matter what, okay? This whole idea that it's because of the ghetto why they hate us, they hated us before us, even before the ghetto even existed, decades before the war on drugs and stuff, like going back to like maybe the 1970s, 1960s, 1950s, 1940s. They were still killing us en masse, and and of course through the infamous lynchings and all that type of stuff. So in general, this whole thing that black people, bring the hate on ourselves because of the ghetto and our bad behavior and the crime and blah 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 blah, the whole nine yards you hear all the time, is a complete fucking lie. They don't like us no matter what we do. Even when we're doing the right thing, they still hate our asses, and that's the honest truth. So in short, to answer your question, when it comes to this, the biggest myth about anti-black racism, I just hope I debunked it for you. And if there's a message to learn from this video, it just shows you why in life, for people to not believe everything you hear people say. Okay, because in this age, especially with the internet, people tend to believe a lot of things that they hear people say, specifically at face value. But when you actually do deep analysis, and stuff, you realize a lot of these things these people say is complete bullshit. And when it comes to the real reason why racist people hate black people, the whole idea that's because of the ghetto and stuff, that's a complete bullshit lie, to answer your question. And the honest truth here. So, in short, to sum it up, aside from debunking the myth that they hate us because of the amount of crime in our community, um, the other message to get from this video, of course, is that don't believe everything you hear people say, okay? And as a result, of that, you should analyze everything you hear people say, not just hear what you hear at face value. And that is the truth. So anyway, this is my video. This is everything I have to say for this video. Just remember, if you like this video, remember thumbs this video up and the subscribe button. And that is all I have to say, and simply put it on out. So bye.